Cowardice asks the question, is it safe? Expediency asks the question, is it politic? Vanity asks the question, is it popular? But conscience asks the question, is it right? And there comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular, but he must do it because conscience tells him it is right.
Every time our country stands in the path of danger, an instinct seems to summon her finest first, those who truly understand her. When freedom shivers in the cold shadow of true peril, it's always the patriots who first hear the call. When loss of liberty is looming, as it is now, the siren sounds first in the hearts of freedom's vanguard.
Fighting for humanity and against globalism, one mind at a time. It's the Freedom Link with Joe Joseph.
Hey everybody, we're here. It's the 7th of December, 2024, and Joe and Scotty are going to take you through 2 hours of happy action, fun, and excitement because there's been a lot lots happened since we were live last time, buddy.
Indeed.
You know? So I gotta tell you, I wasn't totally disappointed or surprised by the outcome of the election.
Right.
I am not surprised at the reaction to the results. Not at all. I wasn't surprised when a certain person, like the title says, beg your pardon. I wasn't surprised there either that Hunter was pardoned, which is good for us because now there's absolutely no justification for President Trump to go ahead and pardon the January 6th, let's just say, prisoners of war, for lack of a better term.
Political prisoners.
Political prisoners, yeah, sure.
The political prisoners. And, right. And, of course, we all saw this coming. Joe was, I think he was betting on the fact that maybe Kamala was going to win and that she was going to pardon Hunter. So
one way or
could
another,
kind of, yeah,
right.
You know, that, so he could he could wipe his hands clean of it and still get it done, but unfortunately that's not how it played out. And
no, that's right.
Right. And we see the absolute delusion on the left. It's insane. And
well, I hate, you know what, here's the thing. I hate it when we always use that left right thing. Because it's all the same. But it's all the same. However, this is different. This we can actually use that with relative confidence because there's such a stark dividing line between establishment, deep state, swamp, and now Trump 2.0, which really, a lot of people say, well, it's going to be a billionaires club and everything else. Well, here's the good thing about that. There's a good and a bad. First thing is the bad, right? You don't become a billionaire by being Mr. Nice Guy. You're a cutthroat MFer to become a billionaire. You've stepped on a lot of people and done a lot of people wrong to get there. Everybody has. It's a billionaire. You're not getting there, like I said, by being Mr. Nice Guy. So there's that. But there's also a level of independence that comes with having so much money that you can't be bribed. You can be blackmailed, but you can't be bribed. And so there's some good things to be said there. And then, quite frankly, without Elon Musk, this would have never happened. We would,
and
Trump would have got trounced.
We see our country kind of like go through this every 50 5200
or so,
years, right?
right?
Where you see this like fundamental restructuring of the system, that somebody comes in and overhauls everything and completely, kind of changes the way things are going. And you saw that at the beginning of the century, with of the 20th century, right? That World War I, World War II era, FDR, New Deal, all that. That was a fundamental restructuring of the country, and it ultimately shaped it into what it's become now, right? I mean, that was the foundation of all of that. The Great New Deal and all of the sort of bureaucratic and bloat of all of these agencies that started to be formed, during that time. These agencies didn't exist in the 1800s. They
No.
started popping up at the beginning of the 1900s.
Well, and then
the
the New
early,
Deals. The New
and,
Deal.
right,
It's
right,
really
right.
what brought that along.
And then before that, we've seen that in the country where you've had some, a fundamental change. The parties realign. They sort of
It's almost like a pole flip.
Right, they pull flip. They changed the whole ideology of how they want to run the country and everything like that. And it's a bizarre thing. And I think we're right in the middle of that right now. We're seeing one of these great realignments in the structure of our nation, and it's kind of fascinating to see, because we're living through it, and it's going to be kind of crazy to see how it all plays out.
Well, here's the interesting thing, and this is from NBC News, and I put it right up here. Biden weighs preemptive pardons for potential targets of Trump retribution. Let me say this. This is somebody,
That's crazy.
this is being done by people that have a guilty conscience because they've used lawfare to get to where they were in 2020. And then throughout Biden's presidential administration, they really utilize lawfare to the nth degree. So that's somebody that's guilty of doing that, that's coming out and saying and thinking in that way. You see that a lot with kids too.
Yeah, it's essentially a preemptive admission of guilt is exactly what this is. Because if you're preemptively pardoning somebody, you're essentially saying, well, they're already guilty of what, so I'm going to go ahead and get ahead of this and nip it in the butt, which is wild. So it basically is an admission of guilt on anybody that might come up in this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So he's looking at pardoning people like Fauci, Adam Schiff, General Milley, all of these people. Now, if anything,
Liz Cheney.
Yeah, Trump has basically said we're turning the page on this. Now, how far he goes,
Right.
maybe it's pardoning the January 6th people, but he's going to have a lot of things to do, right? And a lot of things to fix. If he's even able to do it.
I don't see, unlike them, I don't see him being vindictive like that and wasting time going after all of these people or whatever. Like I said,
there's going to be other ways for him to get his
right.
Vengeance, if you will.
He'll probably pardon the January 6 people, and rightfully so.
Right.
Yeah, and that'll probably be the extent of it.
If anything, that was a gift. In my humble opinion. Yeah, okay,
Right.
you can't go after Hunter now, put him in prison. However, and I saw this the other day too, because he's been pardoned, he can no longer hide behind the Fifth Amendment for self-incrimination. So now if Congress subpoenas him, he has to answer truthfully, and he can't say the Fifth Amendment because now he's immune. So the Fifth Amendment doesn't apply to him now. So that could also give them a way forward to extract information that may
Right.
lead to charges. You don't know, right? But there's a lot of things to think about here, because there are a lot of issues that we're facing that millions of Americans are suffering with right now. We could talk about inflation. We could talk about the education system and the decrepit condition that it's in. But the first thing that I want to kind of key in on as the night goes, and by the way, folks, CDC may show up a little bit later. I don't know. He's just very busy right now. And if he shows up, he shows up. If he doesn't, hey, it's all right. We got this. The health Health in the United States is in a deplorable state. Healthcare, you've heard RFK Jr. talk about it, but they don't really get into the meat and potatoes of why. And so an interesting thing has happened since this United Healthcare CEO was taken out, right? So
Right.
Brian Thompson, CEO of United Healthcare since 2018, gets gunned down in New York City, and on the bullets, the assassin actually wrote terms or words on each round, almost like how they sign a bomb before they go and bomb somebody, and
Right.
it all has to do with the deny, delay, defend strategy that insurance carriers deploy on everybody, hoping that the person or patient will die before they have to shell out money to do any fixing. I'll give you an example because myself, I deal with it personally. I have a blown out knee. Okay. It blew out a year ago. Went to the VA, went to the a private doctor, and they all told me the same thing. You're too young for a knee replacement. I'm too young for a knee replacement. Why is that? Well, because a knee replacement only typically lasts 10 years. And when you have it done, they only want to do it once. So because of that, so if you are in your 40s like I am, you can look forward to, we'll just send you to physical therapy. And so the analogy there is, okay, so if I have brakes on my car and those brakes are worn out, does pumping the brakes regenerate my brake pads till when they're brand new again and they work fine? Does that happen? I don't freaking think so. So how is physical therapy going to help me when my knee is bone on bone? What is that going to do for me? Oh, yes, well, you got to strengthen up the muscles and everything around it. Yeah, okay. My knee looks like a effing balloon on one side and then a regular knee on the other, and it's incredibly painful. And millions of Americans suffer with chronic pain. That's a big issue that has a lot of different things that they have to fight against all the time. The first one being the DEA and the fact that now there's quotas that the distributors put in place with the help of the government to tell the pharmacies who are pulling from these distributors, hey, look, you've reached your quota. Now you're on back order till the next month when your quota resets. So if you don't get a fill at a certain time, or maybe later in a month or whenever the calendar resets for them, you're up the creek. A lot of people see that with like Ritalin or people with ADHD because there's such a demand for that drug. And it's that's abused. The issue we have is we're using addiction and we're using criminal enterprise to basically demonize patients who are struggling and in need and are defenseless. And what do you do when you need help and you can't get it? So go back to this CEO who walks out of his hotel, and on the bullets after he's shot are those terms: delay, deny. I guess there was only two that they let out, but it's part of that strategy. Funny enough, too, the web sleuths that always solve the murder cases before the police, just like those divers that always find the dead bodies 30 years later when the car drives into a pond, right? These people are extraordinary, and they spend time it's like a pro bono extravaganza where they're solving all these cold cases, and it's freaking awesome. And no one wants to touch it with a 10-foot pole. Why? Because everybody knows somebody who is suffering at the hands of private insurance companies. And it is a real crisis in the United States when
Right,
And
because I remember they were saying, "Oh, is this a pro hit? A professional assassin or
could
whatever?"
be,
And
could be.
I was thinking, yeah, I was like, "Oh, yeah, maybe." But I was thinking, this could just be somebody who lost somebody, and whose family member was screwed over by United Healthcare, and just decided, "Hey, I'm gonna take out a little retribution, because of the law, my loss or whatever." You never know. I mean, some people can be driven to do very extreme things, and when you have a motivated individual who wants to cause harm and do something, they
Or
will
maybe
do
he's
it.
terminal.
And
Maybe he's terminal and has nothing
yeah,
else to
maybe
live
yeah,
for, so he's going to do something, right?
maybe he's the one that's being screwed over by United
Could
Healthcare.
be, could be.
You
He could be a
never know.
disgruntled employee.
Disgruntled employee, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be like this pro assassin thing. It can just be somebody who's been sitting there planning this for a while and decided to execute on it. And so it's crazy,
For 20
And
years, for 20 years, my wife has been practically bedbound because of the insurance companies, because there's no money in cures, so they treat the symptom, and in her case, it's excruciating pain. She's in pain 24/7, more than
right,
most people endure in a lifetime or 20 lifetimes. And it's all related to childbirth that went sideways. And when it went sideways, and life-saving measures were taken, it damaged her pelvis and it ruined her pelvic stability. She has no pelvic stability. So imagine what happens when your pelvis is doing this all the time.
oh yeah,
So,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I constantly have to berate and belittle these insurance companies and pharmacies when we go in because of all the propaganda that's been put out about opioids and all these words that people don't even understand the true meaning of, can't
Right,
associate things because they don't know. They just assume and judge people on the basis of everything that's being pumped over the airwaves. And it's
right.
bullshit, you know?
Uh-huh.
People need help.
Hopefully, and hopefully this all gets reformed and overhauled, and because that's just more of a symptom of a larger systemic problem of the way our healthcare system is set up in the first place, and the dynamic and of everything. It's
But
completely
let me be
backwards
clear.
from what it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
The doctor patient relationship has been completely
It's,
destroyed,
and it's
and
sacred. It's
right,
sacrosanct.
and
You can't, the government has no place in the doctor patient relationship. None.
right,
Yet
and
they're there all the time. And
mm-hmm.
doctors are under constant stress and duress at
Yeah,
the
they're
hands
under
of the
duress
DEA
and coercion. Yeah,
because they're going to get shut down. They're going to get shut down like they have. My wife and I have to drive 500 miles every 3 months to go to the only pain management doctor now on the
yeah, yeah,
entire East Coast.
right. And then what's that do? It forces people who can't get help. It forces them off to the streets, to the black market.
That's right, and it
To
creates a criminal
all of
element.
this. It creates the criminal element, and then it creates a vicious feedback loop, because then they use that criminal element as a justification, and then it creates this cycle, and
Yep.
it's
And then why go after cartels? Cartels are dangerous. We can get our numbers going after people in wheelchairs or with canes. You know what I mean? Because
right,
they're going
right,
to the
right.
street to get relief that they can't get the right way through a doctor, even though they should be able to. And it shouldn't be a problem, yet it is. And this is the biggest issue that you have with government regulation and everything else. Look at, if people want to shoot up and do what they want to do, let them do it. Let them do it. If they, but you give them the opportunity to help themselves. But if they don't want to help themselves, you got to give them a designated area somewhere in the desert to go and do it. It shouldn't be in the Tenderloin area of San Francisco. That used to be a nice place. Now it's a
Right, right.
shithole. And honestly, I mean, the reason why people are
And look,
doing that is the number one reason why is pain. It's pain. Either
right.
spiritual, physical, or mental. One of those three things. Pain is the biggest epidemic in
You
our
get to the
country.
root you get to the root of the problem, and you're not going to have people that are
correct,
addicted and drunk, junkies and all of this stuff. That's just a symptom of
a bigger
a
problem,
much deeper issue, right?
Right.
So you start solving that root problem and figuring out, well, why are people in so much pain? Why are there so many people that are depressed? And
maybe because I just spent $6.56 on 18
Right.
eggs. That could have a lot to do with it.
It's not just physical pain, it's mental pain, it's stress, it's all of this stuff, and people just want to find a way to escape, and just get away from it and unfortunately, people get addicted, and that becomes their way of escaping the reality.
And it's all self-inflicted.
And if you can manage to improve somebody's quality of life, they won't turn to those things.
They typically do not, right?
Right.
So back in the 70s,
we have to improve the quality of life of everybody in this country, and once you do that, you're going to see like addiction rates drop down because people are going to be able to live more comfortably and not feel so on edge about everything. Like every day could just be, so many people live like paycheck to paycheck to where, the next day they could be homeless, you know what I mean? And to live under that stress. And if you got kids and things like that, it's just, it's horrible. And then the kids are growing up with families that are under stress. And so the parents are stressed, the kids are stressed. You're dealing with just whole family dynamics of stress. And that's not good. It's not good for the country. It's not good
dude, it's like a downward spiral.
Yeah.
In the 70s, there was an experiment, right? And this was a groundbreaking study. They called it the Rat Park experiments. And in these experiments, they had 2 cages, right? You had a cage with rats, empty cage, and in the cage was a bottle filled with cocaine water and another bottle filled with water. And every time the rats went to the cocaine water without fail, boom, 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 right? Then they had another cage, and in that cage was Rat Park. And Rat Park was like the Disneyland for rats. And they also put a mate in the cage. And they had the same water bottles, one with cocaine water, one with regular water, and then enough food, right? In the Rat Park cage, the rats never went to the cocaine water because their needs were met. But in the cage that was empty, every time they went to the cocaine water. So that tells us how to fix the problem. The issue is, can people do and make the necessary decisions without looking back to say, well, this is the way it's always been done. And so you've got to think out of the box at this point. Just remember, prohibition will always, 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 always make people look for a workaround to their issues because they're suffering. They've got a hole in their heart, in their head, up there. There's something missing that they're lacking.
Right.
And when you pull away that thing, whatever it is, they're going to find a workaround. The problem with workarounds are always more dangerous and less effective at treating the problem than the original thing that you prohibited people from taking.
Exactly,
I'll give you an example.
Right.
I'm going to give you an example, right? So, of course, we had prohibition. And during that time, you had speakeasies that were selling bootlegged liquor and all that stuff. There's a lot of people that died from alcohol poisoning from drinking the methanol that got in there and poisoned them. Our own government poisoned over 10,000 people and killed them during Prohibition because they wanted people to fear alcohol. So they killed 10,000 of our own people.
Yeah, they just straight up called it like the Federal Alcohol Poisoning Program or something like
that.
I
mean, what the hell? Why hide it? Fuck it, But then, marijuana. Okay, so the DuPont said, well, we've got this thing called nylon. We can't have hemp in this country or anything else. So we're going to, lobby the government, send them a shitload of money, and we're going to get them to outlaw hemp and marijuana. That's when, what was it? Reefer Madness and all that crap came out.
Got the poster somewhere behind me.
Oh God. Yeah. And so what happens, right? You got to find a workaround. Just like opium dens. Opium dens were open all over the place. People could go and smoke opium in a safe place, under supervision. Everything was cool, right? Yeah. Did you have addicts? Of course you had addicts, but you're always going to have addicts. And that's when you address the holes.
Yeah, they were just confined to the opium den.
That's it, right? So let's outlaw that shit. Now what do you got? Now the Tenderloin district's all messed up and everything else. Give them a place to go. That's fine. But now you've got K2. You've got spice because they outlawed marijuana. And that makes people berserk, right? Bath salts. Right. What the hell are bath salts? How about crocodile that makes your skin fall off and all that stuff, These are all workarounds to prohibition. It doesn't freaking work, and it only makes things worse. The best course of action is to remove the government, turn the DEA into like teachers and mechanics and plumbers and carpenters and shit like that.
Wasn't it like Portugal? I think it was that
their addiction rate went down 50%.
Yeah, their addiction rate dropped 50% when they just decriminalized everything and just
they did
kept the government out of it.
But the money that was going towards law enforcement went towards treatment and retraining. So, okay, let's take a look at our society right now. Oops, we caused a big problem with this student loan crap because we gave money to everybody that wanted it. Now they can't pay it back because inflation's so high. So what do? Oh, well, here's a good idea. How about you retrain people to get better paying jobs in a service type of job, like I said,
right? Why don't
mechanics, carpenters, all that stuff? Oh God, you know what? Let's fill the shortages. I'm a maintenance manager by trade, right? So I was an electronics technician. I went and became a project manager for the U.S. government for their radios and everything else, built a big depot. And then I got sick of that because my conscience wouldn't let me freaking do this anymore and work for for Mordor on the Potomac. So I went private sector and went into manufacturing and fixed machines instead of radios and got pretty good at it to the point where now I manage a workforce. And I could go anywhere in the country if I had the resources to move. I can't though, because you know why? Because it used to be relocation packages and everything else. They're gone. Right. They're gone now. Everything's been taken away. The trees picked clean.
You really don't see that anymore.
The trees picked clean.
The relocation pack. Employer would pay for relocation and helping you getting settled in and everything, so you could get your footing and then start work. You don't see stuff like that anymore.
The trees picked clean on that one. But if they reinstituted those kind of things. And they said, hey, you know what? Because they did it before with, there was a critical shortage of teachers. And this was about 20 years ago, maybe, to where states were going and paying for retraining for people with a college degree to become a teacher without having to go through the rigmarole of 4 years of school to become an educator or whatever the heck it is. So they said, well, you've done 4 years of college. You got a bachelor's degree. You've got some expertise, something else. We're going to slot you in to teacher roles. And it helped solve the shortage. They retrained people and they put them into the positions and they solved the shortage issue. So now we have the same thing with the trades. We don't have enough tradesmen because everybody was focused on a 4-year university degree that, come to find out, when they get out after 4 years, they're not making any money because everybody got a 4-year degree. Engineers start out at 45 to 50 grand now, but they have 200,000 in student loans. How do you start off and get a house when the average house now costs $439,000? How do you do that when there's
they gotta be able to find a way to get the reorient these people and get them into the workforce somehow,
but reset
and
the economy too.
Reset. Yeah, exactly.
Something's got to give.
Like you said, and fill these these trade, because there's a need for people in the trades, and
I can't find a good mechanic to save my life. When I try to hire a mechanic, the company never pays enough to even entice the good ones. You know what I mean? And two, they're just not out there to the point where you're interviewing 100 to get one semi-decent one, only to say,
they gotta grab some of these people and be like, look, I know you're really proud of your gender studies degree, but we're gonna need you to crank some bolts, nuts and bolts in an engine and get you working on that and get you retrained and all of that.
Let me tell you something. There's something about that, and being in that field for so long, it's why my body's broken, is because you're always on your hands and knees or on your back or whatever fixing these machines, and they just wear you out. A lot of people,
but I think a lot of this, though, I mean, we're having a whole generation that has no mechanical skill. I mean, people need to learn how to work with their hands and how to build things and how to think. Because it's not just oh, this is a low-paying job of just somebody working on No. We're talking about actual problem-solving skills. When you're working on things with your hands, when you're working on engines, when you're putting things together, when you're actually crafting something, it forces you to think logically. It forces you to problem solve. And we see so many people now who have absolutely no problem-solving skills.
Right.
They have no idea how to fix very simple mechanical problems that it used to be remember the father in the house was also the mechanic and the fixer upper and everything like that, and now you have men who don't even know how to repair things in their own home, and
because masculinity's been outlawed practically,
and they've never been taught how to do any of this stuff. You have a whole generation of people that don't even know how to change their own tire. It's always oh, I gotta call somebody to come and help me do this, or somebody who knows how to do it, instead of knowing how to do basic things yourself. And that's a problem. That's a big problem. And I think a lot of that has to do with these people getting out of high school, going to colleges, and just learning things that really don't apply to actual real life. You know what I mean? They're not learning skills that actually benefit them, as far as day-to-day life and actually figuring out the issues of life. And it's
and let's be real too.
Yeah, so
let's be real too. In an economy like we have now, right? We are in a depression. You can say that we're not. It's only masked by EBTs, by all of the food pantries and everything that have sprung up post World War II or post Depression, and really kind of gloss over the problem because now there's no bread lines. You don't have the bread lines. But I'll tell you what, you go to those food banks when they're open, there's lines wrapped around that building. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing that's happening. Now, for people who know a trade, let's just give an example, a mechanic, right? If you're savvy with cars, that's when your opportunity is at its highest because that's where side work comes in. So if you're physically capable of doing it, and I wish I was, but unfortunately, I just can't get up and down like I used to.
Knowing a trade is excellent for even a side hustle, like you said.
Yeah.
Because
then now you're augmenting your income with something that you can do, and you're also helping out others by giving them a good price and keeping them going.
Like I said, and you're the person that those people who don't know how to do it Or, that they're the ones calling. Oh, he knows how to fix a car. Whatever. So it's definitely, and it's never something that's going to like disappear. You're always going to have a need for the trades, even in the most downturn of economic situations. Somebody's always going to need something built. Somebody's always going to need something fixed, and somebody's going to always need something done. That's just a core fundamental of having a workforce and a labor force.
And so there's $1.9 trillion now in student loans. And I think 25% haven't made a payment since the moratorium on payments. And there's even an organization, the Debt Collective, they're called, which is, to me, it's because I'm not a left-right guy. I'm just Joe. I don't care about who's associated with what, how, or where. But this is a debtor coalition, basically, of debtors who are saying that, look, we've been bamboozled. We've been sold a bill of goods on this. We were promised, if we get this degree, you're going to get this or that. You're going to be able to take care of your family. And that hasn't happened.
Right.
So there has to be some sort of reckoning. Now, because our economy is so crap, and really, if you think about it, we kind of do need a great reset in a lot of ways. I think that's why they use that term, because there's so many people suffering right now or stressed the hell out because they can't live the American way. You know what I mean?
Right. There definitely needs to be an overhaul of something. Something needs to change. You know?
So you get rid of you get rid of the Department of Education, right? That's great. Mm-hmm. But now what are you're going to go right with the Treasury? I owe them, like, I have student loans. I have $73,000 in student loans outstanding still, and with a disabled spouse and all these costs and fighting the insurance companies, I don't have the money to pay that, so here's a solution. You take those college degrees and you put them to work, just like a side hustle, and say, look we're going to put you to work building this bridge, putting this infrastructure together. You do it 20 hours a week. Do it like part-time. Everybody has a place to go and a job to execute. And in doing so, you're going to pay down those
Give them
student
a little
loans.
bit of like pre-work training or on-the-job training.
And let them pay their student loans down just by working, doing a side hustle.
Yeah, right.
That's what I would do.
Right.
And I don't know why we aren't doing it. That's $1.9 trillion in resources, in labor, that you can put to work for infrastructure projects, for healthcare, for what do you call those, like home nurses and attendants, for the elderly and the people in need, CNAs, right? So you could do that, and not only that, but just like, look at this. This is absolutely right. I got to show this because this is it. A job brings pride and ownership in the country. Stewardship.
Yes.
It's gone in this country. But if you had stewardship, if your sweat went into building that bridge, I guarantee you're going to be telling your grandkids, hey, I remember 50 years ago when I built that bridge, I was there, and all that kind of stuff. Because you're going to do that. And you're going to hope that you pass that along to the next generation. So there is absolutely nothing wrong with going and putting that to work. To erase it, to erase that kind of debt, unfortunately, it wouldn't be, the outcome would not be that good. I would just say that there's probably more detriment to that kind of plan than there is benefit. However, you can't just ignore the issue, Scotty. Something's got to be done.
Oh yeah, definitely something's got to be done. And I like that idea of at least it's like, look, you've got this degree or whatever, and you're not putting it to use. It's not being used. But let's go ahead and just accept it as a hey, we'll get you somewhere. We'll get
That's
you
right.
doing something, and because hey, let's be honest, a lot of these people, they went to school, they put the time and everything in to do the studies and get the diploma and all of that, and then or the degree, I should say, and they feel like, wow, I did all of that work for nothing, right?
That's exactly what they feel like.
Yeah, what do I have to show for it? So at least they can say, somebody can be like, look, at least you took the time to do all this. Let's at least put you somewhere. Let's at least put you to work and give you at least a salary or something that's somewhat worth what you did.
My degree's in project management, right? And so all I've ever wanted to do is manage projects.
It might not be exactly what you went to school for or what you studied for, but hey, we still have a place for you. We still have something, that you can you can say, right. Hey, at least I have something to show for this.
Or you put them to work with the degree they've got. Case in point.
Right.
What do we're under constant cyber attack, everything else. Put the hackers to work. Put the people with the computer science degrees. Hey, spend 20 hours a week taking care of this, these systems in our corporate infrastructure, government infrastructure, all that crap, and keep it safe. Do away with the pot restriction for government. Jesus, all these freaking hackers smoke weed. You know how freaking unbelievably unstoppable we would be if we gave the hackers a job?
How many times the FBI has had to make an exception so that they could hire hackers,
It's ridiculous.
And the hackers are like, look, man, I'm not going to do this unless you let me smoke my pot. And they're finally like, okay, fine. And then they get them on their side. But just ridiculous stuff like that prevent like an entire group of people from entering the workforce and doing something. You know what I mean?
If we could just let that go. Do away with drug testing in the workplace. Look, if somebody's high, you're going to be able to tell. Okay?
Right.
If they're drunk, you're going to smell it. You can tell. I've done it a long time, and I've sent a lot of people home because they were doped up or drunk. But one thing I've never done, and I never will, is unless they've done any harm to anybody or did any damage, I've never let them go because of that. I've just sent them home because
as long as you're doing your job and you're not presenting. As long as you're doing your job and you're not presenting a danger to other people.
What you do at home, that's your own business.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yep. But don't bring it to work.
I agree. Right. Exactly.
And if you bring it to work, you're not going to work today.
Yeah. If it's causing a problem for everyone else and other people and you're affecting it, then that's a problem. But other than that, yeah.
But if I can normally sniff it out right away, and when I do, I just go home, go sleep it off. We'll see you tomorrow. And typically that fixes it, where they don't do it again because they know I'm hip. And that's cool.
Right.
We have an understanding, and that's the way it's supposed to be. But we sometimes shoot ourselves in the foot with all this prohibitive policy and just the way we treat people. If you take a look at how you treat others, typically it's from the programming that you've received through some sort of propaganda, whether on the boob tube or and publications or whatever. You've bought into, in some way, shape, or form, the bullshit. And the only way to break yourself free of that is to do away with anything that you tie your identity to when it comes to the workplace or politics or even sports, stuff like that, because it sets you on a trend, on a habit. You go down a road where you're all of a sudden, I'm a Republican, and I'm a Democrat, and because I'm a Democrat, I have to align with certain ideals and all this stuff. And it may not be me, but hey, I feel better because I'm not alone. I'm in the crowd. And we know that is how they control. Like Gustav Le Bon said in his book, The Crowd, people feel more safe and will do more to advance an agenda in a crowd than they would on their own. Because people don't like the attention, they don't like the accountability factor, and they don't like the consequences of doing things on their own. So they always like to be in a crowd. That's why typically people that buck those trends end up being black sheeps in their family. I'll give you an example. Christmas, right? Christmas has nothing to do with Christ, has nothing to do with anything biblical. It's 100% pagan, but everybody does it because it feels good. Because, hey, I'm going to put gifts under the phallus that has a bunch of gold and silver balls representing Ra's testicles. And you know what? That makes me feel good until I open the presents up and I figure out, oh, I didn't get what I wanted. And then we realize why December 25th and the day after are the two highest days of suicide in the country. They're just by nature. And if you think about it, all that holiday does is breed selfishness, self-serving, and baloney. And the little bit of selflessness that happens, toys for tots and things like that, that just makes you feel good because I donated a bike to the kids. Okay, that's great. Yeah, go ahead and enable it. Enable a bad habit, which everybody, you do what you want to do. But when you read, like in Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 9, don't go down the road or follow the ways of the heathen. Don't go into the forest and chop down the evergreen tree and nail it to the ground and adorn it with gold and silver. Thousands of years ago, Jeremiah said, don't do that shit. God doesn't care about it. As a matter of fact, it's stupid. It's pointless. Don't do it. You're wasting your time. You're causing yourself more stress. Don't do it. And people do it. People do it because we love tradition. Humans are patriarchal, tribal, and we like tradition and sparkly twinkle lights. And because we like sparkly twinkle lights, it ends up being kind of hypnotic, and it gets you into the festive spirit, But
what is it with humans liking sparkly, shiny things?
I don't know, man. It started with gold.
Since the dawn of man, we saw something glinting in the dirt, and we're like, ooh,
yeah, oh wow, man, that thing's shiny.
Dig up shiny thing. I like shiny rock, and then it went from that, and it's crazy. If you think about it, it's like the first form of currency, right? Like they were probably trading shiny rocks, gems, or whatever, and
this is coming from a guy that really, really, my wife and I, we loved Christmas. It was our favorite time of the year. Wee-hoo! It was great, man. It was great. And then all of a sudden I learned the truth. And I said, damn, my relationship with the Almighty is worth a hell of a lot more to me than any stupid effing holiday that I've been stressing out about and lied to. Right, exactly.
It was kind of mind blowing for me too, like probably in like my early 20s when I really sort of learned about all of like how much of the Christmas traditions really did stem from like pagan stuff and a lot of the Nordic pagan traditions are just pretty much. It's pretty much all just a Nordic pagan, the Yule log and
which all spawn from gods, small g gods that fell to earth, or you can call them what you will, fallen angels. You can call them aliens. You call them what you want.
The polytheist deities,
right? But let's be honest. Let's be honest, okay? All that lore comes from the truth somewhere long time ago. And it's just like a bad high school rumor that the truth starts on one end. By the time you get to the other side of the high school, that story's way out of whack and it's nowhere near what it was. But don't be fooled. There were titans back in the day before the flood where you had a Zeus and you had Hera and you had all of these Nephilim that came down and showed us humans all of this stuff that we shouldn't really have been doing, but we're doing. And it is what it is. Look, we're here and this is our hand and we got to play it. And the only thing I can say is if we just took selfishness
only
out
on the
of the
Freedom
equation,
Link.
we'd be good.
Only on the Freedom Link can we go from student debt to Titans.
That's right. Well, we'll go all over the place. That's right.
One fell swoop.
Because it's all tied together eventually. It all goes back to,
right.
Some sort of root corruption. So it's okay. But all I can say is like the pardon thing, the healthcare system, all of that is just centered in selfishness. It's all self-serving, self-centered bullshit. And while it's important to take care of yourselves and your family, of course it is, you have to. But you should always, always have an open mind when you go into anything. No preconceived notions. Let the identities go. You don't have to be a Yankees fan or a Red Sox. You can enjoy the game. You don't have to be like an avid asshole about it, right? But
it's amazing. It's amazing where just a little bit of critical thinking and logic can take.
Oh, it's crazy, man. Just slow down a bit and just think it through. But always put your fellow man first. Give them a hand up. Another thing that has to happen in the government: tort reform. People sue for, I burnt my lap because the coffee was too hot. How else do you drink coffee? Especially
these frivolous lawsuits are
we
just
have
out
to
of
stop
control.
that. And here's the problem, right? Once what's been seen cannot be unseen. So a lot of these issues that we're dealing with now are going to be hard to make go away, if impossible, because once it's out there in the universe, it's not going away. Not easily, I'll tell you that. Not without some serious course corrections, and those can be very painful. We know that all too well. We know that all too well. But think about it, like, for example, smash and grabs, the theft, the
fact that these grocery stores have to have everything behind a lock is just completely absurd. We should never be at a point, in our society where we have to do that.
Who's the jerk that said it's okay? Like, this is okay. Like, we're okay with this. We'll just lock it up and put it behind a window. Everything's going to be fine. Shouldn't that put alarm bells off and say, man, we got to do something about this. This is something wrong. And the answer, folks, isn't necessarily, put them in the clink. We have by far the largest prison population in the world. People that shit on China because they have slave labor and all that shit. Look at the private prison system. We have it too. They make cheap furniture, 25 cents an hour. They repair radios and manufacture electronics. They do all sorts of shit here in the United States that you don't understand or have any idea happens. But we do exactly what China does. The only difference is we don't talk about it. We just look the other way. And it's all right because, hey, they're criminals and that's what they need to do.
That's just part of their reform, Joe, and we're just giving them a job and helping them prepare to enter the workforce after they get out. Oh, wait a minute, they can't. That's another thing too. They need to reform the ability for these people getting out of prison to enter the workforce and get a job without the stigma of, look, they've served their time. They've did their debt to society. That that should not be an issue anymore, I think, in their hiring practices, unless I think there's certain circumstances depending on maybe what they went to prison for, if you know what I mean, and working in certain fields or areas. But other than that, I don't think your past whatever you've done in your past, if you've served your debt to society and you've served your term, you have a fresh start, and they should allow you to have a fresh start, and you should be able to enter the workforce just like anybody else, like I said, unless you were charged with something bad that you did with like children or something, then you shouldn't be working around children or anything like that.
Okay, But then, okay, this is to me when you get into that kind of situation and you're there, why not find out what the problem was that caused that person to do what they did? And then fix the issue, rehabilitate them instead of paying billions and billions of dollars to house them and then slave labor at the same time, because that, to me, we don't have a moral leg to stand on, the United States.
But at least, that's the first step. At least these people, especially like nonviolent offenders, people just, possession, things like that. They get out of prison and they can't get a job because they're like, oh, well, you have a felony on your record. We can't hire you.
Well, here's the other thing too. We gotta get back to no victim, no crime. These administrative crimes are bullshit. Absolute bullshit. If there's no victim, there's no crime. Who did I injure? What did I do?
Exactly.
I injured no one. So where's the crime? I did nothing.
And then your life is ruined. You can't get a job. So it's ridiculous.
And it can be taken advantage of. The law can be weaponized against you, and it has to me twice. And I'll tell you what, I'd love to see the whole thing go away. I just would. Like, we need a do-over because we've just strayed so far away from the original intent of this country and become so dependent on government, to have the government God instead of the one up there,
That's why I'm really hoping to see what happens with this whole Doge, Vivek Ramaswamy, Elon thing, and just seeing like how much of it they can actually.
I think we got to go.
I think we do.
Oh crap!
Yes.
So yeah, let's go to break. Hour number 1's done. Hour number 2 is on the way, and when we come back, we'll have so much more to talk about, whether it be Damascus falling. Oh boy, there's some biblical prophecy there. Or even a secret Pentagon study that hints at reincarnation being real. So don't go away, folks. We'll be right back.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It's hour number 2, and I just want to say we love the pyramid stuff. Beam me up, Mr. Scott.
Yeah.
That is definitely something we like to talk about. We'll have to do a pyramid thing.
Ancient history,
and tech,
lost history for forbidden history. Ooh,
the giants,
the giants, pre-flood, all of that stuff.
We love that long time.
The Graham Hancock, all of that stuff.
Food for the soul, man. Food for the soul. So yeah, absolutely, we definitely love that stuff. But tonight, I think the next order of business is jihadists now are on the outskirts of Damascus, and they are. It looks like if there's not a big shift in the way this is going, you're going to end up seeing Damascus fall. Now, how bad is it going to be? I don't know. All I can say is it looks like they're using the exact same playbook that was used by, what was his name? The contractor, the Russian contractor that went and tried to march on Moscow.
The Wagner Group?
Yes. So they're using that same strategy, almost like a blitzkrieg, just go in there and take them out. Why? Well, I mean, if you think about it, you've got Russia tied down in Ukraine. You've got Iran tied down. You've got Hezbollah broken up and beaten. So all of the entities out there that would go ahead and help Syria, they're not there anymore.
Yeah, they're out of the picture right now. They're taking their chance while they can, while Syria's in a weakened position geopolitically, because nobody's going to really come to their help right now because they got their own crap going on. So
it looks like according to Zero Hedge, it says here, Zero Hedge's contacts in Damascus strongly suggest a transition of power deal has already been made. And he says external discussions are centered in Doha, and some premature and unverified reports have claimed President Bashar al-Assad has already flown out of the country. However, Syrian state media refutes those reports and say he's still conducting his duties and doing his things over there. But
still in Damascus.
Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Now,
who knows?
A lot of people say, are we watching biblical prophecy? And we could be, for all intents and purposes. I don't see this shaping up to be what Isaiah was talking about in chapter 17, where he says, the burden of Damascus, behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it shall be a ruinous heap. And the city of Aror are forsaken. They shall be for flocks, which shall lie down, and none shall make them afraid. So I don't see it being like a leveling.
No, this is just more of a geopolitical shift that's going on. We have so many of these factions within the Muslim world that are always vying for power and wanting to take control.
We're talking about eons old conflicts.
Right.
And if you take a look at this is Sunni versus Shiite.
And look, we just have to look at how many times throughout history Damascus has changed hands and went back and forth between different powers, and this is no different. Like I said, the city isn't being razed to the ground and being completely destroyed. So it's interesting though, the whole biblical prophecy thing of the fall of Damascus and all of that stuff. But I don't think this is the big show, as they say.
No, because I'll tell you what, in my humble opinion, we haven't seen AI advance enough yet to be the big issue that causes the intervention to happen. And that's, so a lot of people make a mistake because they say, well, we're looking for an antichrist, you see. And when he comes, by God, the world is going to go upside down, topsy-turvy, and God's going to intervene. Well, that's mistake number one on the part of people that think that. Because if you know what antichrist means from a language standpoint, anti means in place of, not the opposite of, in place of. So you're basically making a substitution for Christ. You could call the government antichrist. because it's in place of Christ, right? Instead of people praying for whatever, they go to their government god for assistance and sustenance.
False idolatry
Sure.
is a form of antichrist worship, because you're.
But let's put AI at the forefront
yeah.
here for a second, right? So AI right now is being touted as the solution to all our problems, because here soon, especially with quantum computing coming along the line too, you're going to be able to basically we aren't going to do it. The AI is going to be able to find new cures, encryption that can't be broken. You're talking about all this next level stuff that's going to happen like that once you get like general intelligence. And who knows, we may already have it, but it's not benefiting society yet. And so as this technology comes online and all of a sudden, people are walking again because of implants and things that can assist you, they're going to look more and more away from God and look more and more towards the AI, as their savior.
AI will be looked as the miracle,
in place of,
yeah,
because Jesus healed the sick, cured the lepers, fed the hungry, and did all that. Well, now AI is going to do it, right? What do we need? What do we need Jesus for? Right? It's not going to work out that way. That's the problem. So I don't think that's matured enough yet, as far as the timeline goes, to where you're going to see any sort of intervention. But I will say that's been extremely interesting is the explosion in the amount of orbs and UFOs and the crazy interdimensional stuff that's been going on, and people are catching on their cameras and phones and things like that. Now that's freaking cool. Because
have you seen all of this stuff going on in New Jersey over the past couple of weeks?
Oh my gosh, man.
What is going on with this? So I my mom was telling me about this today, and I was like, I didn't know that this was all going on, but apparently since like mid-November, residents in Morris County and surrounding areas have reported seeing large winged drones estimated to be the size of a car. Car-sized drones hovering in the sky at night, and the drones have been spotted flying back and forth for hours, with some witnesses capturing the images on video.
I'm gonna try and pull this up while you're talking.
Yeah. The FBI is now involved. Their Newark office is investigating the sightings, urging the public to share any information. While authorities have assured that there is no known threat at this time, the investigation is still ongoing.
Let's check it out. Let's see what it looks like.
Hey, Ernie and Candace, the FAA has placed a temporary
for real
national golf course in Bedminster. When these drones were first spotted 2 weeks ago, the Morris County Prosecutor's Office said that they posed no known threat to public safety. But people want to know, what the heck are they?
Yeah, how did they know? Oh, yeah, there's no threat.
It's normal to see red and green lights in December, unless they're coming from mysterious drones in the night sky.
It's kind of unsettling. They're not up for 15 minutes, they're up for hours. Some are very big, probably the size of a car.
Mike Walsh says he's seen hundreds of them over the past 2 weeks from his Randolph backyard and has the video to prove it.
They kind of go slow, they come towards you, then they'll change direction a little. They're all going different ways.
The drones have been spotted all over Morris County. Morristown police sent an alert to residents Sunday saying they are aware of drone activity and that if a drone crashes or lands, do not approach or handle it. The FBI's Newark field office would only say it is working with other law enforcement agencies to figure out what's going on, but at the moment doesn't have enough information to share.
A lot of people want to know what's going on. I think more people are coming around to that, this is going on and maybe it's not good.
Nancy Reed didn't want to show her face on camera, but says she's seen the drones every night since November 18th.
I can see them right out my bedroom window. I can watch them. Last night was about 5:30, so it was earlier. But it's normally anywhere between like 7:30 and 10.
What the hell are those things? Those are crazy looking.
Yeah, but I mean, they got strobe lights on them and things like that. So to me, my first impression is that
I mean, it's obviously
it's a human-made thing, right?
Yeah,
so that's number one, is that the FBI probably knows what they are and who it's from and everything else. So I've kind of, it's not an alien. You can hear it. You can hear the props. You can hear that. You know what I mean?
I wonder if it's maybe somebody testing some kind of a new drone design. They're doing it at night. I know like a lot of these companies will do that stuff so that way rival companies can't see the shape of their vehicle or glean any information.
So and prior like a couple years back, our friend Shad, he works for a company that designs drones that utilize AI, swarm technology, things like that. But for other purposes outside of military, like, for example, fighting wildfires. There's certain, as a matter of fact, Cayman, which is a aerospace manufacturer, makes helicopter drones. They're the size of regular helicopters. They're not manned by anybody. And their primary use is firefighting. They have a big hook. They take the bag of water, they take it, and it's like a sky crane, but it's totally autonomous. So these things come in shapes and sizes, and they have for a very long time. I mean, 9/11, we had drones, and then we had before 9/11 during the Vietnam War, they had planes that the controls were being fed through a Prick 77 VHF man-packed radio. So there's many ways that you can make a drone, and they don't need to be very sophisticated. This technology's been around for a long time.
All a drone is just a flying vehicle that's not manned.
It's remote controlled.
It can be a remote controlled airplane, and it's so. It's interesting. I wonder what these things are, though. I mean, because you would think that if a drone company was testing something, that they would get clearance from the FAA.
No, not necessarily. Let me tell you why. Because a couple of years back, there was a big story about these UFOs over a certain area of Texas or Oklahoma, where they were over like pastures. And there were swarms of these things, and people kind of tied it to cattle mutilations and all that stuff. And it was only happening at night. Now, there wasn't cattle mutilations going on, but because they were drones and because they were trying to work out the whole swarm tech, oh man, it caused a whole problem.
Actually, I guess technically, right, if you're not going above 400 feet, you don't have to sort of having sort of certification or anything like that. So
but they were testing out the technology. They were doing it in a place that they didn't think there was a lot of attention, and it ended up causing a whole heap of trouble.
It ended up drawing a lot of attention. So,
and really all they were doing was trying to prove the technology, that these things could work together and all that. They didn't want it to be tied to the military or any sort of something, so they were trying to do it in a private area, doing it, kind of in the dark. People aren't going to see it. Sure enough, people saw it, and it went crazy.
And I've also seen people speculating on this, like, oh, well, could this be some sort of like a Chinese a spy balloon situation or something? And I'm like, well, if it's a foreign power trying to spy on us, then why would they have big blinking lights on their vehicles, right, for them to see? Because they would be flying that in the totally dead of, no lights, blacked out,
exactly.
possibly even stealth or something like that. So they're not going to draw attention. So I don't think it's some kind of a foreign power.
No, they don't have aircraft warning lights on them. You know what I mean? That's somebody. That's an organization or entity that understands the FAA rules. So I'm not really worried about it. If anything, I would guess, because, he frequents Bedminster, it's one of his golf courses, that it could be a Secret Service thing. It could be something like that. But I don't really think that it's anything.
Who even nefarious. Maybe Trump has his own private security detail that utilizes drones to fly over his properties and look over and make sure that especially since the incident at the golf course.
Do you blame him? Right. Do you blame him for not?
Yeah. Do you blame him for maybe wanting to fly something over his properties and scout out? Maybe it's got like thermal imaging, IR to look for any people that are around the premises or something. So that makes a lot more sense to me.
And of course, you're not gonna, you know, when you play poker, you don't show people your hand. So you don't want to put it out there. Oh,
Trump's
yeah,
not gonna be out there like, we're flying drones.
It's our drones to protect me. Ha ha ha. Oh, okay. Now we know what to work around. Yeah, no, of course he's not going to say that. But I guarantee you it's something that has to do with security or something like that.
Probably.
Straight up.
That makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, so I really wouldn't worry too much about it. And you know what really keyed me off on it? Aircraft warning lights and then the sound. Okay. Yeah, they're really covert on this one. Jesus. Yeah, okay. So nothing really to see there, but there has been an increase in a lot of these strange things, and there's no doubt that there's technology out there that A, we don't understand, B, has been reverse engineered and come from somewhere else, or C, they're working together.
And I know that this also tied into, there was a lot of talk over the past couple of weeks about this supposed alien invasion that was predicted. I think it was the Webbot that predicted it.
The Webbot.
Was it the Webbot?
The Webbot.
Yeah, the Webbot, remember? And I was like, oh, no. Here we go with more. Supposedly there was a prediction back in 2009 that if President Trump did an interview with Joe Rogan, that there would be some alien invasion that takes place shortly after. And I was like, oh, boy, this is...
Right on. Let me say this. If an alien race has the technology to come here and visit us from other dimensions and everything else, believe me, we're not, I just don't see us being a problem. I mean, unless they're going for resources, but even then.
No, what I like is that the bar that had to be set for aliens to come and visit us was Joe Rogan and Trump talking to each other. That was humanity's pinnacle moment for the aliens to go, yeah, let's.
Holy moly. So that brings us to our next thing. Speaking of aliens, no, there's a secret Pentagon study out there that hints at reincarnation being real after finding that consciousness never dies. So that's an interesting thing. And it says here that there's also like a sub-article on this. This is Daily Mail. That first remote mind control technology is developed in South Korea. So we definitely have the bucket helmet from the SpongeBob movie now, and Plankton is soon going to take over.
Plankton. Yeah,
that's right. So I guess this is technology that's been around since the 1920s. They've known how to do this stuff for a very long time. So this is not a problem. But what got me was this here. This is interesting. It says a study conducted by U.S. Army intelligence has suggested that reincarnation is real because consciousness never dies. I disagree. However, I don't disagree with consciousness never dies, but I do disagree with reincarnation the way they sell it. It says entitled Analysis and Assessment of the Gateway Process. The 29-page report was drafted by the U.S. Army, Lieutenant Colonel Wayne M. McDonnell in 1983 and declassified by the CIA in 2003. The research has resurfaced on social media with Chicago-based comedian Sarah Holcomb summarizing the findings, saying, we're pretty sure that reincarnation is real. So consciousness is energy, it says, and it exists outside of our understanding of reality. Holcomb said, paraphrasing page 19 of McDonnell's Army Intel report, and energy never dies. The mind-bending official Pentagon study was commissioned to better understand what its Army Intel colleagues were doing, sending personnel to a small institute in Charlottesville, Virginia, that was working on the Gateway experience. Then the secretive Gateway project, based to McDonnell's analysis, was
the Gateway stuff.
Yes,
this is what Kev got into.
That's
back
right.
In the day.
That's
right.
It was a training system designed to bring enhanced strength, focus, and coherence to alter consciousness. And from there, Gateway's ambitious goal was to shift the practitioners outside the physical sphere and ultimately escape even the restrictions of time and space. So, at least according to McDonnell, the Monroe Institute's discovery that wound up bolstering the case for reincarnation were profound. It says here, when consciousness returns to the absolute, that's Monroe jargon for a realm outside of space-time, it brings with it all the memories it has accumulated through experience in reality. as he distilled the Institute's findings that memories pass on from life to life via reincarnation. And there's studies, there's figures in this article. I'm gonna share the screen so you can see some of this stuff because it's
wasn't it also the gateway stuff that was talking about how like reality is like a hologram and all of this
well, here's the thing, right?
That like the brain projects a hologram or something along it was really wild. I remember there was a lot of declassified documentation on it that we had to pour through back.
Which if you see here, look at this, the consciousness energy grid, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So it gets into some pretty interesting stuff. It says, or as Holcomb put it more succinctly in one of many videos by TikTok users fascinated with the metaphysical U.S. Army study, you're pretty sure reincarnation is a legit thing? Yep. The comedian who posts as Mad Hatter News on TikTok also referenced a vast body of research by the University of Virginia Medical School's Division of Perceptual Studies, which has compiled a database of over 2,500 cases of professed reincarnation. Many of these cases involve children under the age of 5 who claim to remember memories of a previous life they claim to have lived. Why the kids, Holcomb continued to interpost, it seems they're the ones that are most easy to remember their past lives. But the gateway
my theory.
What's that?
You know what my little theory on reincarnation is?
What's that?
It's not in the sense of like what they try to tell you as like you're actually coming back, right? Like and replaying the level as they say or whatever. What I think is that possibly people are quantumly entangled with somebody else in a previous life, and so they're remembering.
Yes.
That they're experiencing the memories and of that person, but they are not that person. They are not the reincarnation of that person. They're just quantumly entangled with that person. So they're
almost akin to when you have a like you wipe a hard drive, and when you wipe a hard drive, you can still access some of that info after you wipe a hard drive. Like there's images of it and there's ghosts, if you will.
Right. And like an example of this would be like, I think some of the strongest examples of quantum entanglement are like identical twins. When you separate two identical twins and they still do things that are like
identical. They can feel the other's pain
because they literally were split from the same cell and they were they were entangled on a quantum level, and so of course I believe everything in the universe is quantumly connected at some level because we all originated from a single point of energy. Right. And so we're all quantumly entangled, but I think some people's consciousnesses are quantumly entangled with the conscience of somebody else, maybe from and at that point, does time really even matter? Is that a
time is a limitation that's a human limitation.
Right. So somebody now could be quantumly entangled with somebody from the past, or whatever, and they could be experiencing those memories and so I think that's more of kind of what reincarnation is it's you're not somebody coming back, you're just experiencing.
Well, let me give you the biblical side of it, right? So the Bible tells you what happens when you die. The Bible tells you that when you die, the body dies and you go to sleep. It's no different than, okay, your body's dead, so the vessel's dead. And they say, well, your consciousness then goes out to the ether, if you will, or outside of whatever it is. Let's just call it God's cosmic hard drive, right? Mm-hmm. And all those memories of the sim, just like the sim, right? The computer game that God's watching on the screen, all these people doing their thing. And when it's done, all that data goes into storage. Bible says it's like a light bulb, right? You shut off a light bulb, you don't think, you don't breathe, you don't dream, you don't do anything. So when you die, you don't know the passage of time. Time has no bearing to you when you're dead. right? So when you die, it's going to be dead, an instant, boom, here I am. It's judgment time. Now think about it from a game situation, right? Did I do enough to level up? It's really that simple. A lot of people say, "Oh, how do you get something from nothing in the Big Bang?" Well, God pressed execute. And then look at that. Here's the universe. Whee!
He executed the code. And
that's
the code
it.
ran.
And that's why it's very interesting. John said in the beginning there was the Word. What's the Word? It's code. The Word is the code. And then boom, he hit execute, and here we are. Something from nothing, the Big Bang, whatever you want to call it. We're inside that construct. That's why I think Elon Musk is spot on with the simulation theory.
It's
really that.
If we're all part of the same code, then we would all be tied together somehow, right?
Somehow.
Quantum entanglement. Yeah, right.
That's just it.
Yep. And another thing about the reincarnation thing is okay. So when these people experience the memories of someone in the past, right? They're only experiencing the memories of this person when they were alive. If they were truly like reincarnated or whatever, wouldn't they like experience? Well, of course they would be reborn or whatever, but there's no. They're only experiencing memories of when that person was alive. So that means when that person died, that was it for them.
Yeah.
So they're only experiencing like a quantum entanglement of while that person's consciousness was, in their body, in the flesh suit. And then after that, the consciousness goes elsewhere. And
it does. It goes into what I call cold storage. And then when it comes up, it's going to be like, okay, what did your character do? Did you do what you were supposed to do? Did you fight against, like one of the things that I always, there was a question about, kids, right? So there's a certain thing called the Age of Atonement where you are now responsible for you, and before that, but we're all born into sin. Like humans are, how do you say it? We're kind of steered that way when we begin. We fell, and so now we're just kind of like sin. That's where we kind of gravitate to, and it's how much can you overcome that in this lifetime before
it's our natural propensity to gravitate towards a sinful sort of.
But the interesting thing, but the rules of the game is sin. There's no sin, really, you steal a pack of gum, you murder somebody. It's sin. It's all sin. God sees it. That's it. That's what it is. So it's how much can you overcome the pressures, the trials, the tribulations to level up. It's no different than a video game. If you look at it like that, it's not, it kind of makes it a little more palatable. But, man, it's a bitch.
It's the constant sacrifice and the ability to, stay the course and resist temptation.
And a side order of ghost fuckery too. I like that. That's a great word. I like that. So we're going to go with that one. So yes, absolutely. There's a high dose of that going on too. And there's also things like where there's many dimensions to our reality, and sometimes those dimensions cross over. They intersect one another, like, who was it? Who was the guy that got buried on the ley lines in Africa? You remember what his name was? He was a rich guy.
Man, I know.
He was a rich guy.
He was
the Chitahori guy, right? Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah.
Because he knew and believed that at that point, that intersection of these ley lines was kind of like a Stargate, where dimensions cross paths. So he got buried there because, he was like, yeah, that's where I want to be. But it's real. It's all real. Do we understand it?
Yeah. They've scientifically measured that, when a person passes away, they lose, there's an actual loss of mass that takes place. And they're like, well, And you look at like energy converted to mass or whatever. If they lose a certain amount of energy, then they've lost a certain amount of mass as well. Or they've it's crazy that they're able to actually measure the point when consciousness leaves the body. That's always something that makes me go, that means something's going somewhere. And energy can't be destroyed, right? That's a fundamental law of physics.
All I can say is it definitely.
So it's going somewhere.
Well, to me, anybody that takes anything away from this, organized religion, as you know, is crap. It's crap. The only way to be able to get. Oh yeah. Okay. So I have my cosmic cat here. He's going to come here and have a little, come on. Okay. All right. So what do you think? What do you think? You see ghosts? Do you see dead people? You don't,
well,
do
you? If he was around in the Egyptian times, he'd be worshipped.
That's right. That's right. But, they are very spiritual and attuned, and they see things that we don't. That's for sure. And so all I can say is, if you take organized religion and human tradition out and you look at things strictly analytical, you'll come to have a certain peace when it comes to death. Like, there's one thing that humans can't avoid, it's death. 100 out of 100 people will die, right? We're doomed. From the day we're born, we're terminal.
In the words of Dream Theater, every breath brings me closer to my last.
That's it. That's right. That's right. So it's the fear of death that really kind of puts people in a tizzy. But when you understand it this way, there's no more fear anymore. Not to mention the fact the earth sucks. I mean, it's a beautiful place. It's got nice waterfalls and jungles and things like that. But on the whole, we've really not been good stewards of the earth.
Right. And it brings you more comfort to know, like, it's not only, once you start looking into, like, not just Christianity, but other religions and all of these other, ancient texts and things like that. And you start seeing that, like, a lot of this stuff kind of correlates and ties into each other.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay, well, then there's really something to this. And that in itself, I think, brings me more comfort and closure.
I'll give you an example.
You know what I mean? So
I was going to the store the other day, and some Hasidic Jews came up to me, and they said, "Are you Jewish?" And I said, "Well, I'm kind of a hybrid." And they said, "What's that?" I said, "Well, what if I told you I was a Jew and a Christian at the same time? What do you think about that?" And they said, "Wow, how so?" I said, "Well, what if I believe in the Messiah, but I don't believe in any of their traditions or bullshit associated with it. I kind of lean towards like the biblical truth and the feast days and all that kind of stuff." Wow, that's crazy. I said, yeah. All you got to do is let go of this bullshit tradition. I said, how do you guys feel about having your rabbi tell you what shoe to put on first? And you have to wash your hand this way and wipe with the cloth with the left hand and all that. How is that going to get you up to the next level? I never really thought about it that way. Well, you got to think. You got to think. The problem is you're institutionalized from a very early age, and you have these idiots spewing shit into your head.
They've had the blinders put on them,
it's terrible.
They didn't even realize that there was a whole other way of thinking.
I said,
about
it. And I said, you want to know what's funny? We're all sons and daughters of Abraham. So, Muslim, Jew, us, Gentiles.
They're all Abrahamic religions.
We're all sons and daughters of Abraham. So guess what? We're all related, brother. You know what I mean? And that's, man, did I throw them for a loop, those poor guys. But it's true.
Yeah, you probably sent them into an existential crisis that night where they had to sort of rethink.
It's a golly, man. I mean, if it's about family, we're all family. So just get over it already. And how about we just love each other and stop this baloney of, well, I'm this, I'm that, this whole identity thing. It's killing us. It's killing us. So that leads us to our next thing, Dick Van Dyke. I love Dick Van Dyke. I have for my whole life. One of my favorite movies as a kid was Mary Poppins. Who didn't like Mary Poppins, dude? You know what I mean?
Mary Poppins.
Oh, right. So on the 13th of December, Dick Van Dyke's going to be 99. And he is, for a 99-year-old guy, I mean, this guy, he's always been the happy-go-lucky, sing, dance. He just lets it all out, right? So this is, he's not afraid to die. And so Coldplay, Chris Martin from Coldplay wanted to do a song about Dick Van Dyke because of how he influenced Chris Martin into doing what he did. Because funny enough, that was one of his favorite movies. And he was just recently on Jimmy Kimmel.
Our next guest,
and I got to show you a little bit of this because this is
who
interesting.
joined forces.
Okay, so here it is right here. This is a little snippet of the video.
Which one?
You got all my love, whether it rains or pours, I'm all yours. You've got all my love, whether it rains, it remains. You've got all my love.
All my.
So that's, I mean, how cool is that? You know, what an awesome thing. But talk about a guy that gets it, you know, and his whole life has been centered around love and happy and just basically feeling like a kid, you know, and just doing it into his old age. But he's perfectly content with dying. He says he's not afraid of dying. I'm acutely aware that I'm, you know, could go any day now, but I don't know why it doesn't concern me. I'm not afraid of it. He says, I have that feeling totally against anything intellectual that I'm going to be all right. And that's a sense of peace that comes with faith, you know?
Right. And he knows his conscience is clear and that he's lived a fulfilled life and he's accomplished his mission, his goal, or whatever. You know, he's completed the level, or at least completed all of the quests that he felt was set out for him, and he's cool with it. There's nothing he regrets, and he feels at peace with it. It doesn't bother him. You know,
it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Yeah. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah.
That comes out on the 13th, and I thought, man, what a positive freaking song to do, and especially with an icon like him.
Moving around pretty good for 99.
99 years old. Yep. Still goes to the gym every day.
Of course, I'm a firm believer in you age the way you think. You know what I mean? Like, so as long as you keep a very youthful mentality and you like try to stay hip to the time that you're living in, and you actually like converse with people younger than you, right? Like, I have a lot of siblings, like all of my siblings are younger than me, and you know, we span, you know, different generations and stuff. And I feel that, you know, as people get older, they just like retreat and they become like that grumpy old person that gets stuck in their ways. And I think that's a horrible mindset to be in, because if you act old and you present yourself as old, you're going to be old. You know what I mean? You're going to age quicker. And if you keep that youthful spirit to you and you know, you think along that lines, you're gonna stay younger. I mean, you're never going to stop the inevitable. You're going to age, but you can slow that process by having a mindset. It's that thing of like kind of mind over matter.
Well, they would say the power of positive thought, right?
The power of positive thought, and I definitely believe that. I mean, there's also toxic positivity to where. You don't listen to criticism that needs to be listened to, but I do believe that if you have a positive outlook on things, a youthful outlook on things, then you're gonna, you live that, and you're gonna stay younger, or you're gonna hold off that aging factor.
That's right. Or we'll let technology take over, and then we'll just be immortal and we'll be cyborgs. That's
Right,
but there's also technology that's cool, and this is the last story of the night, but I thought was cool. Scalable fibers with light emitting, self-healing, and magnetic properties could enhance human-robot interactions or make a hell of a nice shirt. Could you imagine having like a shirt that'll light up any color you want? Just going down the street. They call it shine fiber, and it can be stretched and knitted into a strap or anything else. It says here, a team has developed flexible fibers with self-healing, light-emitting, and magnetic properties. The scalable hydrogel-clad ionotronic nickel core electroluminescent fiber.
Wow.
Shine is bendable, emits highly visible light, and can automatically repair itself after being cut, regaining nearly 100% of its original brightness. In addition, the fiber can be powered wirelessly and manipulated physically using magnetic forces. So this is interesting. With multiple useful features incorporated into a single device, the fiber finds potential applications as light-emitting soft robotic fibers and interactive displays. It can also be woven into smart textiles. So they published this in Nature Communication. It just came out on the 3rd of November, and it was a kind of a conglomeration of scientists from Poland, China, and Europe, Singapore too. And it says most digital information today is transmitted largely through light-emissive devices. We're very interested in developing a sustainable material that can emit light and explore new form factors such as fibers that could extend application scenarios, for example, smart textiles. One way to engineer sustainable light-emitting devices is to make them self-healable, just like biological tissues such as skin. So check this out. This is a minute video of this.
It's interesting how it glows like that.
Hell yeah. How cool is that? I like
Pretty
that
wild.
stuff.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about like future applications for this, right? Like I can see maybe you get like a really cool like a T-shirt with a really cool design on it, right? But now the design lights up
or moves. Or moves,
moves or something. Yeah, the colors because you're essentially just creating a display out of fibers at that point, and I could see some really cool like death metal band T-shirts.
Oh man, me too. Me too.
Or something like that. I mean, the
possibilities are endless.
Yeah, like marketing your brand and stuff with something like that, with different kinds of swag and, baseball caps with something, moving around on the top, pretty interesting. But I'm also sure that there's probably going to be like all kinds of different applications for that. Like, you could take a strand of that, like maybe you needed to illuminate something within the body, right?
Yep.
And you could like put one of them fibers like maybe inside of a vein or something. I don't know. I don't know how.
Well, it says here light emitting fibers have become an area of burgeoning interest owing to their potential to complement existing technologies in multiple domains, including soft robotics, wearable electronics, and smart textiles. For instance, providing functionalities like dynamic lighting, interactive displays, and optical signaling, all while offering flexibility and adaptability, can improve human-robot interactions by making them more responsive and intuitive. It says, however, the use of such fibers is often limited by physical fragility and the difficulty of integrating multiple features into one single device without adding complexity or increasing energy demands. It says the NUS research team's Shine Fiber addresses these challenges by combining light emission, self-healing, and magnetic actuation in a single scalable device. In contrast to existing light-emitting fibers on the market, which cannot self-repair after damage or be physically manipulated, the Shine Fiber offers a more efficient, durable, and versatile alternative. Like, for example, there was recently a Russian tanker that went and dragged a tanker, they say, and it cut undersea cables for the internet to Norway, right? And the story is what it is, but fiber optic cables can't be, they're not self-healable. So when that's on the ocean floor like that, it's very difficult, to fix it or even replace it. It takes a monumental effort to rerun those cables. Could you imagine if this technology was able
optical,
it self-heals. If you send like a magnetic signal or something like that, it can realign the fibers so that they heal. Who knows? But that's just like one of the many things I was thinking about when I was
actually really good. Yeah, yeah. I didn't even think about fiber optics. The self-healing thing is actually pretty big.
So it says, to ensure clear visibility in bright indoor lighting conditions, a luminescence of at least 300 to 500 centimeters squared is typically recommended. Our Shine Fiber has a record luminescence of 1068. So that's good. And comfortability exceeding the threshold, making it highly visible even in well-lit indoor environments. So I can definitely see a lot of different uses for this type of technology, but it's amazing how much.
I wonder if there's I wonder what sort of maybe military applications, as far as false camouflage, like disguising things as
you never know. I don't know.
Things on, you weave it into a uniform or something, and you could maybe like dynamic sort of camouflage or something like that. I don't know. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it says the Shine Fiber can be knitted or woven into smart textiles that emit light and easily self-heal after being cut. And with its intrinsic magnetic actuation, the fiber itself can also function as a soft robot, capable of emitting light, self-healing, navigating confined spaces, and signaling optically even after being completely severed. Additionally, the fiber can be used in interactive displays where magnetism allows for dynamic pattern changes that facilitate optical interactions and signaling in the dark. So when I look at that, like one of the things I think about from being in the Navy is aircraft landing aids. Because at night, out to sea, it is extraordinarily dark. You don't have city light. You don't have a lot of, really the light, the only light you get is from the stars and whatever lights you have on the ship. But it makes it extraordinarily tough to land on, say, like an aircraft carrier. And there are aircraft landing aids, but to have something like that would be, where you could actually like put messages up or anything else like statuses that they could actually see from afar and then change them. That's huge. And it says, looking ahead, the team plans to refine the precision of the fiber's magnetic actuation to support more dexterous robotic applications. They are exploring the possibility of weaving sensing capabilities, such as the ability to detect temperature and humidity, into light-emitting textiles made entirely of shine fibers. So there's a lot of things that
You know what
can be
another
used
cool
for that.
application would be?
What's that?
Like, say you have it like woven into your clothes, or like maybe like the cuff of your sleeve or something. And if you're like a diabetic or something, and your blood sugar's getting low, you can get a visual cue on your clothes, like the cuff of your arm or something that's saying, hey, your blood sugar's low, or whatever. Or maybe as a signal for first responders or something, when they come across a person.
Like you got a big red cross on it.
Oh, you gotta flip your mic down. Yeah.
Like you got a big red cross
something.
on it.
Yeah, it's like flashing on their on their shirt. Something's going on here.
Yeah. Danger, Will Robinson, danger. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. So this is the thing, right? So as artificial intelligence makes its way further mainstream, and it becomes a lot more usable at discovering different things. Like, for example, there are surgeries now that robots can do with much more efficiency than a human because of AI. There's going to be like customer service people are being weeded out because of AI. The cashiers at McDonald's and Burger King are a thing of the past. Why? Because you got kiosks. You go there and you just do your order. It sends it over. No more cashier. That's all this technology. So the question is, as this technology comes to fruition and all of these things are found and discovered, what happens when human labor becomes obsolete? What happens when money becomes obsolete because you can't work to make money? The currency thing was all brought about so that we could basically convert our labor into something tangible to buy goods with. That's the whole purpose of money. So if you can't work for it, how are you going to earn it? The printing press, the government god. These are all things that these conversations have to start being had, because if we don't manage this properly, and you think about it, humanity can either free itself with the technology, or it can destroy itself with the technology. And I don't think going to Mars is the solution. You know what I mean? It's great. Yeah, we can go to Mars. Wonderful. We're going to another planet that's all effed up. And quite frankly, when the pole flips and the sun explodes or it goes through its micronova cycle, like it has time and time again, guess what? It's going to happen to Mars too. And when it does, it's going to take everything out there, just like it took everything out on Earth and everything else. So there isn't a safe place in the solar system, if you think about it, where you could go and be safe from a catastrophic event like that. Solar flare, sorry, guys, it affects all the planets. So you can fly there all you want, but it's not going to do you any good. And quite frankly, with the population reduction program going on, overcrowding is not going to be a problem here on Earth. So I don't see that being a big issue. It's just all these cyclical things are starting to happen that the powers that shouldn't be have that knowledge of, but they're enriching themselves by selling you a bill of goods, calling it global warming, when in fact it's nothing more than cosmically cyclical events that happen time and time again on a cycle. We live in cycles. From the biggest universe, the universe is a big, big cycle, down to the Higgs boson and its cycle. Everything is cyclical, So if you get that stuff, folks, you're good. And we're out of time. 2 hours.
Indeed.
Come and gone. But
just like that.
Tune in next week, because we will be back again. And Who knows what the Freedom Link will delve into then? But know this, that we're free to think about whatever we want to think about and dive down to. And if anybody has any suggestions or anything like that, feel free to put it in the comments, and we'll go ahead and see what we could do for you. But outside of that, we're out of time. Thank you, folks, for listening, and we'll see you all next week. Take care.